Hello there and welcome to the Secrets of Organ Playing podcast. I'm your host, Vidas Pinkevičius. Welcome to Secrets of Organ Playing podcast number 126. Today is Sunday, December 24th, 2017, Christmas Eve, everyone. Merry Christmas, blessed season for everyone. And I'm so happy we've been doing this for a while, these podcasts. And we've been continuing this organ journey for 6 years now. And we hope to help you grow as an organist for many years to come. And today's special guest is visiting Vilnius University St John's Church. This is English organist James Spanner. Welcome, James.
Good to be with you.
James recently contacted me ahead of time of his and his wife coming to visit our country and spending a few days in our city, enjoying pre-Christmas season, right? And I let him play this mechanical largest pipe organ in Lithuania. So how do you feel, James, about this?
About playing this organ?
Yeah, by the way, we are recording this just a minute after James's demonstration of the organ. He played a few pieces and finished with BWV 566. Do you know this piece? I didn't. This is apparently Bach's C major toccata transposed down from E major. It was originally transposed, and it sounds actually very lovely on this instrument because of Kirnberger III temperament. So, by the way, James, how do you feel about this organ and your feeling about playing it? Could you share this experience?
To play this piece of music on this organ was very special because I've always considered, these last few years especially, the North Netherlands to be the nearest thing to heaven for an organist.
Exactly.
But this organ is close to...
Purgatory, right?
Close. No, close to the Schnickers and the organs of Groningen and Kampen and those. It's a beautiful instrument, And this piece of music, my parents, my father especially, loved classical music. And when I was a youngster, we had an old Supraphon recording of Jiří Reinberger playing this piece in an unnamed church in Prague. And I fell in love with it as a 10-year-old.
Love at first sight. Wonderful. Can we, James, go back in time and remember the time and the day maybe when somebody introduced you to pipe organ and you actually fell in love with this, okay? Can you share the story?
Age 6.
All right.
My parents took me to the Royal Albert Hall for a carol concert conducted by Sir Malcolm Sargent. And I sat in the choir underneath the 32-foot principal pipe, and I felt the draft and the vibrations down my neck. And I was an enthusiast for steam locomotives on the railway, and it excited that same kind of power and majesty, that sense. And then later on, I went to Crusaders, which was a national Bible class organization that every year had a rally in the Central Hall, Westminster, which has a fine hill organ. And I remember age 14 singing a hymn. We rest on thee, our shield and our defender, to Sibelius' tune, Finlandia, accompanied by the organ. And at that moment, I knew I had to learn this instrument. My parents had maybe learned the piano from age 6. I have to learn this instrument.
Fantastic story, right? I've read in some source online that in America they have a program for organ appreciation that students lie down on the floor and feel actually vibrations as you felt the draft in that hall. So it's not surprising that the big sounds are majestic and actually lasting for a lifetime.
Yes, yes, I can sense that now. As a 6-year-old, that memory is in here.
I bet you could even tell us what time of the day it was.
Yeah, it's probably about 7 o'clock in the evening.
And where you were situated in the relation of the organ, which position?
I was the Albert Hall organ is in the focus of a horseshoe shaped hall, and I was sat as the front and the sides slope back. I was on that corner with the tallest, the 32 foot.
And you remember this?
16 hertz vibrations.
32-foot stuff. Okay.
Yes.
And you were 6 years old.
6 years old.
And you still remember this?
Oh, I still remember it, yeah.
It's fantastic, right? So did you have this feeling from age 6 throughout your life that you will become an organist? Or
No.
How did it all came about?
I think I changed schools when I was 13 and went to a school which had an assembly hall with a fine Father Willis organ, and an organ teacher who was an inspiration. It was the first time I'd heard Vidor's Toccata. That was inspirational. On the other side, I hated rugby football, which was the school team game. And the only master who could speak to the games master and say, this pupil, this student is not playing, he's coming to learn the organ, was our music teacher. So I realized later in life, actually, that said something about me. There was something in me, because I didn't sing in the choir or play in the orchestra, something in me that said, I am not a team player. I can do it all myself.
Fantastic.
Not so fantastic.
No?
I have learned later in life to be more of a team player.
Let me tell you why it is fantastic. Myself, I too don't feel comfortable in playing with large orchestras or choirs or team effort. I feel at home here when I'm playing alone or with my wife, Ausra, together on the same organ bench. This is okay to interact with another person, maybe two people, like ensemble, but in a big situation like a team, like collective effort, it would be, for me, it would be difficult.
Yes. Can I just say one thing?
Sure.
That in England now, in many churches, it's common to have a band with perhaps an electronic keyboard, guitar, clarinet, drums, and many organists say, over my dead body, I am not playing with that. And there's a real danger that organ will become dead in England with that attitude. I have learned to play with a band as an instrument that undergirds the band rather than drowns it with noise. And I'm getting to love it. I'm learning to be a team player.
No, you're absolutely right, because there are many symphonic pieces written for organ and orchestra, right? Like Handel's Concerto, Poulenc, and Hindemith, and Reinberger, and many others being written now in modern times. So I think this tradition can go on if our organists would create more and more new organ music, right?
We have a very fine violinist in our congregation who can play orchestral music, gypsy style, and when he is there, I always ask him to come and play with the organ at the end of the service, and it's beautiful. The how can I put it? The woodenness of the organ, if you know what I mean, and the emotion of the violin together. Beautiful foil.
Yeah, organ is a spectacular instrument to play with others. We have some flutes, right? And it sounds lovely with strings. And we could play with winds too, with wind instruments, and with brass too. We imitate with trumpets and posaune and other reeds, right?
Yes.
It can do all kinds of things to imitate other orchestral instruments, right? So, James, how did you become a real organist? And today you played so difficult pieces, and you said you didn't practice for many years before, right? You picked it up after a while, just this week probably, before going to Vilnius, right? So tell us a little bit about what happened later.
What happened later? Well, I learnt through my school years. I then went on to become a church organist when I went to college. And then I became, I changed tracks, and I was an engineer.
Okay.
I felt God calling me to the priesthood in the Church of England. So I cannot lead a service and preach a sermon and play the organ all at the same time. So many years I played very little for services, but just for my own
Actually,
enjoyment.
I have an organ student from, I believe maybe she could be from America, but she's an ordained minister. And she is playing organ and preaching, not at the same time, but maybe once in a while.
Yeah, I'm doing the same now, yes.
And it's fun because your congregation gets to know the other side of you, right?
Yes.
And appreciate, our minister or pastor or priest can, can not only sing or preach, but it can really play. And this is inspiration for other people.
Draw the meaning of the words out of the hymns.
Whenever a Catholic priest would say, please sing hymns louder, they never sing themselves, you see, and never participate in congregational singing.
Yeah.
And if you do, for example, like in your example, then it's, I think, motivating, even inspirational for the congregation to join with their spirits and hearts and bodies to sing.
I say there are two types of congregation when you're an organist. One is like a steam train, and the organist is a locomotive trying to pull 500 tons of dead weight.
Excellent.
The other is like an electric train where all move together, and I am very blessed to be in a congregation in Rustington in the south of England where people love singing.
Fantastic. I would love to come and listen to your people sing and how you lead the congregational singing together. By the way, next summer, Ausra and I will be playing at St Paul's Cathedral in London. So it's not that very far away from.
Maybe
we will keep in touch. Yeah,
please.
Wonderful. So wonderful coincidence. So James, let's talk a little bit about what you play these days. And for example, this week you were probably refreshing your memory with Bach's C major Toccata, with Samuel Rousseau's piece that you played so lovely here. Then the Klaas-Jan Mulder's, right, piece that you brought to other pieces. What was the most challenging thing for you in order to prepare for this visit in terms of organ playing?
I am a natural sight reader, so I play approximately right, but good enough people listening who are not familiar with the music. And it's a real discipline, therefore, to practice. So I'm glad to have your email course to force me to do the fingering and the footwork and listen, especially with Baroque music, to listen to the inner lines.
Yeah, especially the fugues.
Yes.
Polyphonic music, they are so intricate and independent melodies. And if people start playing them right away, all the parts together, then something gets lost, right? We don't control any other polyphonic motion, then I advise people to spend some time with playing solo voices first, and then two-part combinations, and then three-part combinations, and then the rest will be very easy.
Yeah.
So, James, what about your, let's say, practicing from our study course? How long have you been a subscriber to our?
1 week.
1 week, yes. So you will discover many other materials, of course, in the due time, in the future, which we will send to our subscribers.
Yes.
And of course, people sometimes need help and guidance how to create the right Baroque fingering, for example, or articulation. Do we always have to play legato or not always, right? In romantic music, yes. In modern music, yes, unless it's written otherwise. But what about in Bach's music, right? How they treat it this way? So we try to guide people in many fields, and I hope you will find some value in that too. So let's continue our discussion about the difficulties. I was amazed how you played this toccata in C major, transposed from E major by Bach. I've never played this piece in C major myself. Have you played it in E major?
No.
No?
No.
So
I just happened to have the edition, which had the C major version.
I played E major and you played C major, and we can't communicate, right? But the music is the same, actually, only lower.
Yes.
And sweeter because of less accidentals on this organ. So would you like, in some parts of your life, to go back to this piece and play it in E major? Would that be nice or challenging?
I'm not sure whether it would be nice or whether it would be confusing.
It would be confusing.
With the same runs,
but the music is familiar to you now.
Yeah, the music is familiar.
So it would be nice probably experience, because people did transpose him back in the day.
Yes.
It was, for example, like Buxtehude, right? He also wrote a piece in E major, like Bach. And in his organ in Lübeck, yes, they changed the temperament somehow, but I don't believe E major would have sounded, very sweet. But we could assume maybe it was played downward from F major. And F major would be a very nice key in those days, right?
Of course, all our organs in England have equal temperament. So
exactly. Now everything has changed. But since you travel, for example, to the Netherlands, to Groningen and other provinces, they still have old temperaments, and if you play with the right touch and fingering and pedaling, you can recreate those old sounds from the old times, right?
Yeah.
So what's next for you, James? What are you planning to learn and dream of practicing?
I am planning to learn quite a simple piece by, I think, a Polish composer. I will pronounce his name wrong. It's spelled Gardoni. Do you know that name?
Probably not yet, but
no.
You would tell me
and it's a tune more. Which is familiar as an English hymn tune, Be Thou My Vision. And he starts off with very straightforward harmonies and then goes into kind of jazz harmonies where the fingers don't naturally fall into the right place. So I have to work hard to get all the accidentals in.
Does your sight reading abilities help here? It should?
A bit.
And how did you become a good sight reader, as you say? Did you sight read a lot of material, or somehow miraculously you were born with this?
I think I just had that gift. But I can't improvise. Am I too old to learn music theory? So that I can...
No, as long as you're moving, it's okay.
Yes. Yeah, and I find often talking to other organists, you either sight read or you are a good improviser. But it's
No, you
you
could be
don't agree.
both. You could
No,
be both.
right,
Yeah.
right.
I have seen examples
Yeah.
in both spheres equally well.
But my piano teacher, when I was age 7, said to my parents, "I will not put him in for any exams. He is a sight reader rather than an accuracy
I see.
person."
Uh-huh. So you would rather play something on the spot instead of practicing for hours at home, right?
Yes, it's a matter of discipline, really. But I would like to. I mentioned to you that 10 years ago, with the West Sussex Organ Association, to make myself be able to play before a discerning audience once a year. That forced me,
of course,
to practice that Rousseau piece.
It's a public accountability,
yes,
right? Because if you schedule a recital or a performance, even during a church service, right? One or two pieces, postlude and prelude or communion piece, that would be enough to get you motivated to sit down on the organ bench regularly, even every day for a little bit, and to prepare, to plan ahead of time your schedule, if you know your calendar, your practice ahead of time, and to know if you will arrive at your destination in time, right, or a week later, too late, right?
I don't know if it's like this in Lithuania, but in England, any organist will say it's not worth practicing the voluntary after the service because I can't hear the organ above the noise of the congregation talking.
That's a nice saying. We have the same feeling here.
But before the service, it's better.
Yeah, people tend to chat and interact with each other whenever the mass or liturgy is over. They neglect the sound of the organ, and we sometimes bombard them with sounds bigger than they can manage, right?
Yeah, I used to.
And some people stop suddenly after that and leave an empty silence, and they kind of keep screaming at each other, right? This feeling, keep hanging. Maybe it's important sometimes to train our listeners to appreciate soft organ sounds as well.
Yeah.
On the right occasion.
I think so. Competition doesn't work.
It's all about communication, right? If you communicate with congregation ahead of time, maybe write a few words on the church bulletin, what you will be playing, what's the importance of the music, then they are more likely to engage.
Yeah, it's an idea.
So, James, it's interesting. In the future, you mentioned that you will be playing in a competition, right?
No, this was in the past.
This was in the past.
This was a concert rather than a competition.
But in your situation, right, when people are above, let's say, 40, 50, right, are in another age limit, right, sometimes they are hesitant to put themselves into a position where they can literally challenge themselves, where they are content with, let's say, being as they are, sitting in a chair or on a sofa or a couch and watching TV. But you're not that type, right? You feel that you need to grow even further, right? And actually that stops all kinds of illnesses. Organ playing has proven to be good treatment for aging processes, for Alzheimer's too, for coordination issues older people have. I'm glad you're still playing, and I hope you will be playing for a long time.
I hope so too.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
And before we end this conversation, could you direct our listeners to the place online where they could get in contact with you, get in touch, say hello, and support you and motivate you practice even further?
Oh, well.
What's the best way to contact you?
Probably the best way is simply through my email address.
What about your, before you mentioned your email, what about your church? Does it have a website?
It does. I can't remember the title exactly, but it's St. Peter and St. Paul, like Vilnius,
Okay.
St Peter and St Paul, Rustington,
Okay.
and then you will find it.
Okay, people will Google.
Yeah.
And what about your email?
My email address is James Spanner,
Okay.
so 2 S's in the middle, jamesspanner@aol.com.
Excellent. So I'll put this link into the description of our conversation that people could literally click and
Yeah,
visit.
that would be nice.
And say hello to you and
Yeah.
support. One parting idea, James. Going back in time, right, from age 6, when you first became fascinated with the majestic rumble of the organ, right, in the concert hall, and today, right, what would you suggest and recommend people do? What would be number one step to become a better organist today? What would your advice be?
I'm thinking of an organist playing for church services rather than an organist playing in a concert. And I would, the most important thing to me, and the thing which I sometimes wish when I hear other organists, even very competent organists, is that they would read the words that they're accompanying and bring the meaning out with the way they play.
Because otherwise it would be just pure music without that much intention, right?
Yeah.
And we have to transfer the feeling of the composer who created that music with...
the composer or the hymn writer. Yes.
Like a prayer, right?
Yes, yes.
Listen and read and translate maybe some text with which, if it's in a foreign language, right? To get familiar with the tune, with the text, with the meaning. And then your playing will become better.
And I find with that piece I played, the famous little chorale prelude, Liebst du Jesu, wir sind hier. I often play that before the service. And as I play it, think, dearest Jesus, we are here. And I make it an offering.
Ausra and I have heard that some organists consider this chorale good luck chorale. Yes, one organist from America told us that she always plays this in her recitals. And whenever she includes this piece in her recitals, she plays beautifully the whole recital repertoire.
Brings blessing, I would say, rather than good luck.
Good luck chorale.
Yes. But again, that was when I was young, I heard a recording of Jean de Messier playing that piece on the organ of the brand new organ of the Catholic Cathedral in Liverpool. And whether you like the way I did the grace notes, that's the way she does them, and that to me is the only way to do it.
And for our readers and listeners' information, this is BWV number 731, if you want to play it. If you liked this conversation, I encourage you to visit my blog Secrets of Organ Playing at organduo.lt, where you will find lots of insights, practical advice and training for every area of organ playing. You can subscribe to this blog for free to get your daily dose of inspiration and to be the first to know when any of my future podcasts roll out. I hope to help you reach your dreams in organ playing. I'm Vidas Pinkevičius. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you online really soon.